welcome to the #1 home for personal development. This is ministry for the abstract mind, and it's a safe space for everybody out there that has an out-the-box philosophy. Wherever you are, I hope you're being appreciated and never tolerated. And I got some great news. Personal development is for everybody. Today is a great day because I was recently introduced to an amazing mind, and I get excited anytime I get to talk to amazing minds. So I had a conversation with this young lady behind the scenes, and I'm like, man, now we have to talk about this in public. So I have a guest today at Coin Gang Ministry, so please show my guests love. When you're coming through in the chat, go ahead and like the page, share the page one time for the algorithm. And remember, personal development is for everybody. But enough about that. I have a guest today, and I want to introduce my guest. Guest, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from?
Wonderful. The guest name is Diva Lyri. I'm here with Ken Billions.
What's happening?
So happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, man. You have a great mind, and I'm super excited to chop it up with you today. But yeah. I want to jump right into it.
Let's do it.
You put a term or a word to me, and I need you to talk about this word because I never heard it when you said it, right? Tell me what a fifth dimensional woman is. What does that look like? I don't even know about the first 2, 3, 4 dimensions. So tell me what a fifth dimensional woman is, please.
Okay, so I say to my sisters, all right, first of all, you are multi-dimensional, all right? But what we need to do is break this down dimension by dimension. So we're understanding what we're getting into, what we're dealing with when we're talking about dimensions. So Ken, I got to go back and make sure we understand what the first, second, and third is. Okay. I'm just going to do that briefly. You all know we're talking about the x-axis, which is length, the y-axis, which is height, and the z, which is depth. Okay, so that's your third dimension. Now, in this third dimension is basically what you see, what you feel, what you hear. And what we're learning to do now, or actually in the third dimension, we were just responding to whatever was going on. Now, as we move into the fifth dimension, now I don't want to get into the fourth because that's that's a heavy topic. But let's get into the fifth dimension because what we're talking about is what your actions are. All right. And learning how to now, as we get into higher dimensions, we're learning how to change our actions so that we create the third dimension that we want to see. All right. So now it's no longer about just responding to whatever was going on. Now, as you start to gain more knowledge, gain more access to information that's going on, now you learn how to create the third dimension that you want to see. And it starts with the fifth dimension because we're talking about your actions. What do you do when you wake up? What do you say to yourself? What do you read? What do you listen to? Who do you hang around? All of those things. Are you going to work out? Are you walking? What is it that you're doing so that it affects your third dimension the way that you want it to show up? All right. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so the fifth dimensional woman, when you said that, you just had my mind jumping around. Okay, so fifth dimensional woman, is the dimensions women specific?
Oh no, it's all of us.
It's all of us. Okay.
Now listen, I most of my followers, and I got to say this, are males. I get my followers are 78% males, but in this particular topic, I see that women really need to know a lot of things that are going on that have not been told to us. So that's why there's this tour and this attempt to reach out to more women for them to get this information, because once they get it, then society as a whole will change much more rapidly than anything else. So it's important that women understand this. So going past the fifth dimension, then we start dealing with your vibratory frequency. All right. What happens to you? Do you stay in a lower frequency when something happens, or do you raise that frequency? Do you have the ability to do that? All of that has to do with what your third dimension is going to show up like. Then when you go beyond that, we're talking about what you know. Now, a lot of people understand this as beliefs, but what we're talking about when we're talking about fifth, sixth, seventh dimension, we're talking beyond beliefs. We're talking about what you know. Like, you know it in your spirit, in your soul, that this, whatever you're thinking, is law. And then that's what's got to show up once again in your third dimension. So I hope I explained that to help you understand what we're talking about when we're just dealing with right now the fifth dimensional woman, what she needs to do in order to start affecting positively her reality.
Okay, so let me take it back to the beginning, right?
Okay.
First off, is there anything wrong with women?
Is there anything wrong with women? Is there anything wrong with this society? If you look at this society, would you say this society is right and correct? All right. This society reflects her mind. Mm-hmm. The society reflects her mind. And she's going to say, well, men are in here doing all this stuff, and it's men faults and men. But where they come from? See, I do these statistics, and we can go through statistics and we can see, yes, that when we're talking about violence against women and children, yes, 85% of the perpetrators that are doing those crimes, they're male. Doesn't matter if you're talking about melanated or albion. It doesn't matter if you're talking about this country or another country. It's the same. When we're talking about violence against women, 85% of the perpetrators are male. Robberies, crimes, violent crimes, murders, a large percent are males. However, what we have to recognize is 100% of them came from a woman. The thing is, when the woman comes into order, then a lot of the issues, they're going to just disappear. She's got to come into order. So the problem is we're not recognizing this, and women have been made to believe that they're victims. All of us, a lot of us just made to believe that we're victims. And the problem is we're not recognizing the true energy that we're putting out and how it's coming back to us. We're not recognizing that everything in our third dimension is just a reflection. That is all it is. And once we start recognizing that, we understand the universal laws, which we're going to hopefully get into this evening, then we're going to start recognizing our true power and come out of the victimhood state. I hope that explains or answers your question.
Yeah, you said something in there I wanna do a deep dive on. You mentioned women coming into order. What does that look like?
Well, that looks like her recognizing her true power, that she, first of all, she respects the beings that she's doing business with. Let's start right there. Respecting the nature of the beings that she's trying to do business with. See, we've been lied to in this society. That's going to be a deep dive right there, because I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but you see women and males fighting now. Women and men are fighting. Well, why? What is this whole separation thing going on? Well, she's got to start recognizing who she is and who he is. So she's been made to believe that he's supposed to be a specific way when that's not even in the nature of a male in the first place. So coming into recognition of who the beings are that you're doing business with, that's the first thing. Can we start there? Mm-hmm. Then once she at least recognizes that, understanding who she is and being willing to stand in her true power. A lot of women are not willing to stand in their true power. They're passing certain responsibilities off to men that they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, go into that. What do you mean by that?
So we've been told, and I've said this before, that the man is supposed to protect and provide and rear children. Well, the deal is nowhere in anywhere does a male do those things, and it's not even in his nature. So let me start here, because I need to make this clear so that people are understanding where we're going or where I stand with this. So there, for all of us, there's a spiritual side, all right, where we are in harmony. There's love, there's peace, there's that spiritual side. Then there's the flesh. All right, the flesh has its own personality, its own nature. So we're not respecting the nature of a male flesh or a female flesh. So the male, we've been told in this society that the man is supposed to protect, rear, and provide. But then when we look in the other societies on this planet, males do not do that. They do not. Who is the one who protects? Is the female. Who is the one who provides? Is the female. Who is the one who rears? That's the female. And the problem is we've gotten away from nature with this society because everything it does is backwards. So when I asked you, is this society right? No, it's backwards. It's not natural. And so because it's not natural, there's a whole other epidemic of issues that are going on that nobody is addressing. And why is it? It's because, first of all, we've been made to believe something that's 180 degrees opposite of nature. And then secondly, we have beings that are doing things that they should not be doing. Okay, so again, let me go back into nature. In nature, again, when you look at the male, it's always the woman who's doing the rearing, the protecting, and the providing. Okay, let's go into lions. Lions. The lioness is the one who does all the hunting. Now, males can hunt, but they tend to get into a pride because they know the females are going to do all of the hunting. If there's a mother or a lion that comes up, a lioness that comes upon a group of giraffe, who is going to protect the baby? Who's the only one that's going to put their life on the line for that baby giraffe? That would be the mother. Where is the father? Okay, this is not, and I need to make this clear, this is not a diss to my brothers or no other male. We got to recognize and respect the nature of the beings that we're dealing with. And the problem is we haven't been doing that. We have not respected who he is. So, okay, you got the mother, she's doing all of the providing. You got the mother who's doing all the protecting. And where is the first classroom? That's the womb. That's who's rearing. Other females in other societies on this planet will not leave their child in the hands of a male. It doesn't happen. So we've been taught mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, but that's bull. That's not real. That's not natural. So what I'm saying to you, and I know that this is so opposite of what everything that we have been taught, I understand that. But when you look at what's going on now, so, okay, we understand it doesn't happen in nature. 98% of the beings in nature do not operate in this way. Okay, when you look at biblical history, you won't find one story in there where a man put his life on the line. Okay, look at recent history. A lot of people want to ask, well, if melanated people were running this United States of America before the Albions came in here and took over, well, how did they lose it? Well, what was he doing? He was doing something other than protecting. And if we look now and we see all of these women who are frustrated and aggravated because men are not, they're not taking care of their child, and she's got the Child Protective Services or whomever it is on his back, sending him to jail to the point where he gets a felony, then that's telling you men have been saying who they are, but women have not been paying attention.
Okay, question. So that nature is what, and how that nature is what, and what is the woman's nature just by design overall? What does that look like?
So we want to go back to where men came from, or what the purpose of the male was. All right. So now we had to go back to some Anunnaki. All right. That's a older story. you'll find, and why the male was created. Well, he was created to do the heavy lifting that another being didn't want to do. That's where the male comes from. Where does the female come from? Well, the female came into play because the Anunnaki, according to older stories, from the Sumerian civilization, the Anunnaki women didn't want to keep carrying these males, so they had to create a female in order to procreate with him. All right. So when we're looking at that, why did they create them? Well, they needed a slave. They needed a male to come in and do the work, but he wasn't to provide and protect, and that he wasn't put here to do. That's not what the vessel, this outside suit, this flesh was not created for that. It was created to do the heavy lifting and then to procreate, to spread seed.
So if I'm providing and protecting, if I'm doing that for a family, am I out of my nature?
You are, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. If you do that, you are an exception. If you're doing that, then you are an exception. Would you say that there's an epidemic of women who are frustrated about men not taking care of their children? Would you say that?
For sure.
Okay. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're doing that, then yes, you're out of your nature. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I am saying is, if it was in the male's nature to take care and rear and do all of those things, she wouldn't have to force him to do it. It's natural. Aren't things that are natural easy? Don't they come easy? Was it easy for you to lay down with her and create that child? Oh, that was natural. That was easy. That's the easy part. But when we're talking about what's natural, if it was natural, you don't have to force him to do it. He's going to do it. And the fact that you're seeing an epidemic of men not doing that, they're telling you it's not in their nature.
Okay, so why do women think it is?
Because we've been all trained to believe that. Oh, okay, so now you want to go into history. Because then we go into history and understand what really happened with the woman, who she was, where she came from. The fact that, and listen, I speak on topics that are very controversial because these are things that nobody ever heard, because we don't do our research on these things. But originally, it was the woman that owned everything. It was the woman that had all the riches, all the wealth, all of the knowledge, and it wasn't supposed to be given to the male. That's originally how it went. And when we do our research, we can see that. So now, what ended up happening, and you can even go back, everybody want to talk about Egypt and how they think we came from Egypt. Okay. Did you not do your research on the women pharaohs? Did we not know about the women pharaohs? Did we not even know that the Sphinx was originally a feminine face? Why all these kings and whatever look so feminine? Okay. So when we're talking about where the woman came from, she originally owned everything. And she was disrespectful to the male. She did dirt. So when you see the plight of the woman and she's in this position that she's in, she's not a victim. She did dirt to be in this place. So when we understand universal laws, then we can trace back, we can see, and then we can go do our research and find out just what she did. So I mean, it's a long history of things that women did to males, and then he took her over.
Okay, so let's use universal law as the vehicle. So show me universal law, this story, basically the woman in, because would you are saying that the woman is in a fallen state?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please.
All of us are.
Please walk me through how universal law is tied to women being in a fallen state.
All right. So when you know, I can show it on so many different levels. So just with the woman, again, okay, let's talk about some of the tribes just in the 1400s. I want to go into the Khalifa tribe, Amazon women. Okay. One of the things that they were known for doing, now this is according to documentation that I've read or what have you. Khalifa, when you know the story of Wonder Woman, that is based on the Khalifa tribe, but you're aware of that, right?
Please, I'm gonna act like I don't know.
Huh? I'm sorry. You said what?
I'm gonna act like I don't know, so you can break it down for me.
So the Wonder Woman story is based on a true group of women. All right, they were known as the Khalifa tribe. They're the same tribe that California is named after. So you got the Spaniards that come in and they see all these big, beautiful, melanated women, and they name that territory after this tribe of women. They did not have males. And when males entered into their territory, they were known for feeding them to their pets. And I'm talking about they had these big pet birds that they would feed men to. It wasn't just them. It was other women, even when you talk about the Amazon women, that would do these things to males. Just a disrespect. When you put that kind of energy out by law of compensation, we're just going to use that as one. The general principle of universal laws is whatever energy you put out, it must come back. So, but if we're going to use one in particular, law of compensation, when you put an energy out, it's going to come back in multiples. So when she was doing all of these deeds to him, when we start, he starts to take her over. Especially, you can see starting in the 2000 until that time where it switches from AD to BC. And then when you get that first Bible, we're talking about, was it 325 AD? This was the first canonized Bible. It comes from scriptures. Now, they're going to tell you the first Bible was 325 AD. But what we got to recognize is that the scriptures are so old, they can't even date them. Who wrote them? Those come from Sibyls and Oracles. Melanated women. So one of the things we need to understand, because everybody thinks Christianity comes from the Albion, it does not. When I say Albion, I'm talking about your so-called white. I don't call them white because they're not white, and I don't call my people black because you're not black. But if you want to believe that, go ahead. But here's the deal: when you recognize what happened, that the Christianity comes from the melanated male. All religions are patriarchal, meaning their purpose was to subjugate the woman. So when we talk about Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, any of the major religions, not your newer religions, but all of your major religions, they're coming from melanated people, the melanated male in particular. And this was that time, again, as we switched, this is when males really took the woman over. All right.
Okay. All right. So the male took the woman over. Okay. So in order for modern women, that's a funny term, modern women to know who they are, do you think it's important for them to know who they were in the past?
If you don't know your history, finish that sentence. Help me out.
You're soon to repeat it, right?
If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Right. Nobody
has told us about what role we truly played in history. Women, just like melanated people. Melanated people were told, oh, y'all came here as slaves. They have no clue that melanated people were running the United States of America up until the mid 1800s. They were doctors, lawyers, slave owners, rather. They owned land, plantations, businesses, and banks. Nobody has told us that. And so somebody has put into our minds that we were always slaves and 400 years of slaves. Okay, well then you're going to keep living that. And that's what's going on.
Okay. So for women now, okay, are they paying for the sins of their foremothers?
I need to make it clear. All right. You're talking about, are they paying for the sins of their ancestors?
Yes.
You are your ancestor.
Okay.
We want to make that clear because we want to act as though, oh, I didn't ask to be here. Yes, you did. You contracted to be in this dimension. So when we talk about your forefathers, foremothers, that's you. And if they put out dirt, then we have to be accountable for that. And the moment that's why I say women are very important in this, because the moment we start to become accountable for what we did, then we can clean up the spiritual baggage. Because see, I get this a lot. People come to me and they're like, Diva, I don't want to pay my house note no more. I don't want to pay my car note, and they're telling me they want to get out of all of these things. But then there's a spiritual baggage there that has to be dealt with. And if they're not willing to deal with that, you can drop all the paperwork you want to. You're never going to get that cleared until you get your spiritual self in line.
So the spiritual baggage, is it a collective? Like, how does that go? So is it, if a woman that has agency over her life, is she still responsible for the collective spiritual baggage? What role does she play?
Yes, sir. We're all responsible.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example. Again, why I say I don't call my melanated people Black. For the simple fact that, again, those terms, they had nothing to do with skin color. They deal with the status. Now, with that being said, when we understand what the term slave, because then in the university, UNA University, I go into etymology. All right. So the term slave, when you look up the etymology of the term slave, you find that it's derived from the terms Slavic and Slovakian. Why is that important, Diva? Because those were Albions. Those weren't melanated people. The original slaves in the Americas were Albions, not melanated people. That's where the term comes from. So we've been told, and every time we have somebody put an image in our mind, that every time we see the term slave, we think melanated people in chains, but it was Albions. They were the first. We look up the Barbary Treaty. See, I go into this, so I only speak on the facts. Barbary treaties. Who were the Barbary companies? Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Montezuma. All those are melanated countries with melanated people. They're selling. Well, they were shipping things in and out of the United States. What was the cargo? Look up white cargo in America. Look up white slaves in America. Why am I talking about this? Because of the simple fact that because we don't know the true history and the fact that it was melanated people enslaving Albions first. So now we thinking we victims, but the truth is we got some baggage to pay because of the fact that our ancestors or us, we shipped in these slaves, we enslaved, they were kidnapping Albion children and bringing them in as slaves. Well, who were they selling them to? The original people were melanated. These people who were bringing them in were Moors. They were melanated. So I'm saying somebody got to pay for that. You want to know who was shipping them in? Those Albions, and why the Albions are so angry right now. We're just all spiritual entities returning energies to each other. So why are they so upset with melanated people and want to call them N-word this and angry and all that? Well, those are the ones that were kidnapped and treated as slaves. Why is it? Who you want to find out who they were? Go look in the prison industrial complex. That's who they were.
Okay.
I know that's hard.
Okay, so